Okay, this video is going to be on chapter 4 of The Feeling is Secret, as well as my review, like my basic review on what I think is important and what you should take away from the book. So let's go to, chapter 4 here, teeny slide. Alright, so he opens it up with the Bible verse that says, "Not by my might, nor by my power, nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts." And then he restates the sentence. It says, it's basically getting into the same thing. Assume the feeling that would be yours, where you're already the one you want to be. And he introduces this term, the spirit of the state, which I don't think he uses this term, spirit of the state, in the entire book. This is the only time that he uses it, I believe. And then he restates the rest of the paragraph, stuff that we already know. And then he introduces faith equals feeling. So according to this verse, he thinks that faith is equal to feeling. Now the context is, I need to catch up. The context is Jesus healing a bunch of blind men that came to him, and then he tells them not to tell people, but they did it anyway. Because, why wouldn't you? Anyway, so yeah, Neville says that faith is feeling. And then he says this very important sentence. There's a lot of these in the book, and I'll go over all of them in the review. But I think, personally, stuff that you should keep in mind. One of them is that you never attract that which you want, but always that which you are. So you always have to be present of the state that you're in, your mood, and why, and what you believe to be true, because you are going to attract that. And then he finishes off the book with, okay, right here. So God created man in his own image, in the image of God created he him. And then, so it's basically saying that God created man in his own image, yeah. And this one, which Paul wrote to the Philippians, he said that, "Let this mind be in you, which is in Christ Jesus, who, being in the form of God, just like we are, thought it not robbery to be equal with God." And so he basically says a command that you are to believe you are God or Jesus, and don't put your faith or any kind of responsibility into other people's hands, because that's the thing with like true Christianity. If you follow the Bible and if you follow Neville's teaching, then the world is created because of your assumptions and because of your moods, and it's up to you. You can't, I mean, if somebody wants to help you with manifestation or something that you're struggling with, it's tough. It's tough to ignore the senses. For example, if you have a chronic condition, I know it's hard. Trust me, because I've had a behavioral addiction that was afflicting me for 10 years or something like that. And modern science says that this particular behavioral addiction just doesn't go away. It stays with you for life. And when I read that, I was like, no, I refused, because in my mind, I was not addicted. And in a few months, the addiction just went away. I didn't even realize it. I was surprised. But yeah, I think that you should not, in any fashion, strengthen your faith and your belief in yourself by not trusting or not putting responsibility into the hands of anyone else, not just a far off God or Jesus, but that you should believe only on yourself and believe that what you want, and live how you want. Okay, and then so these are Bible verses that just says that because Jesus believed himself to be God, he does the works of God, and so you should also do that. He that believeth in me, the work that I do, shall he do also. So we can do the same works as Jesus, John says, and he that believes as I believe, the works that I shall do. Yeah, okay. Oh, it's the same thing. Neville restates this Bible verse, which I always think it's funny when he does that. Next verse he says, Jesus found it not strange to do the works of God. Oh, actually, I did some preliminary research. Let me talk about this. It's very interesting because the Dead Sea Scrolls were, this is just a quick aside for how the Bible may have been written. So our tradition was that lessons were passed down orally. And so they would sit in groups and maybe talk about the text, and they would also include their own realizations, or because you know how when you talk about a book and you certain things come out at you sometimes, and this scholar believes that I'm gonna go ahead and let's look at it right here. I'm on a trip, guys. Here we go. How the Dead Sea Scrolls authors rewrote the Bible. So this one right here. Just Google search this, how the Dead Sea Scrolls authors rewrote the Bible, and it talks about this doctor, I think, she's a professional, like a biblical historical professional, talks about how the Dead Sea Scrolls are different and maybe why. It's interesting. Anyway, so I should knock on Neville for trying to rewrite the Bible, because other people did it too. And the Bible is not the constant in the world anyway. I think it's your consciousness and your awareness. That is the constant. That is the thing to which other things should be measured. In my opinion. I know that's a strong opinion, but that may change. Anyway. Alright, rabbit trail done. Okay, Jesus found it not strange to the works of God because he believed himself to be God. And he said that, he's a Father of one, it's natural to do the works. So, and this is going back to that idea that you should believe that you are God or Jesus, because it's easy to believe that you can do all these crazy things if you're the God of your own universe, and you have the power and the responsibility to do amazing works. And then he finishes it off with this exhortation that when a man believes in the value of advice given him and applies it, then he establishes within himself, the reality of success. And that is, feeling is a secret. I think I'm going to go over that. Yeah. This is important. You are that which you believe yourself to be. Okay, and then, oh yeah, we're done. Okay, now let's go over the feeling is a secret review. So this is, I'm going to just lump it all into one because this has been like 2 minutes or something. I'm going to go over the basic stuff, basic topics, and the feeling is a secret. Okay, without further ado, let's go. So, chapter 1, he opens up with a couple claims that he owned. I want to talk about unsupported claims here because although he does make like a bunch of unsupported claims that, he kind of builds off of, he says in this one, that's in the foreword, that were it possible to carry conviction to another by means of reasoned arguments and detailed instances, this book would be many times its size. So he says these claims, and let's see, in this next slide he says another one. Okay, so for example, the way he interprets Bible verses may not be readily apparent to, for example, me, unless I were to study the ancient languages and find out if his interpretations are accurate or not. But anyway, so I'm going off of, so I've in previous videos of talking about the book, I pointed out where he may have contradicted himself, or he made claims that he didn't expound on, and it makes sense that he doesn't do that because he just wants to carry the idea that you are the creator of your own reality, and all you have to do to be that and to realize that is to, one, I'm gonna write this down for people that are new. Okay, all you have to do is, one, believe, and then he kind of like gives it a sub command, which is feel. But if you believe completely in whatever you want, then you're going to naturally feel it. This is going to come naturally. Anyway, so that's the main claim that he wants to share with this book. And I think that he does that pretty well. I mean, 50 pages long. It's not easy to misunderstand if you take your time and read it and look at what's important and where his arguments are coming from. It's just these two things right here: believing and feeling. Believe what you want, and you'll naturally feel it. Anyway, so just want to say that. So in chapter 1, he goes on off of those two claims to say that it can be understood, consciousness can be understood to be two, conscious consciousness and subconscious consciousness. And then he describes the aspects, behavior, and function of those two aspects of consciousness. And I do want to clarify that I said that before. He says that this law, so in the text he says, okay, in the text he says, first conceiving an idea, then impressing the idea, conceiving the subconscious, all things evolve out of consciousness. I said that excuse me, that was the law of consciousness. That was an extrapolation on my part. He doesn't say that was the law of consciousness. What he says was, let's see, where's the text here? All right, let's find it. Impressing. Oh, come on. All right. By this law, he just says that it's a law, and he may have not called it the law of assumption. I don't know what he called it, but yeah, anyway, this is a law, and this is true. If you have ever manifested anything, and you realize that it was because you assumed a state, that's a law. That's how the world works. Okay. Yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way. Okay, and in the first chapter, and in the whole book, he very much stresses the importance of feeling, and he says here that it's the only way that the subconscious can get ideas, through feeling. I don't know where he got that. I would love to know. He also okay. So and he says the very important feeling is controlled by disciplining the self. And you are to entertain only such feeling as contributes to your happiness. I think that is an excellent command to make. It's just, not the easiest thing to do, right? And he says the dominant feeling is always expressed, so you should always be mindful of what your dominant feeling is, what your mood is, why, what you believe because of those, what you believe, and then that will cause you to have certain emotions and act a certain way. So I always have to be present with what you believe, in my opinion. And I went over that in my first chapter. So to anybody who that may not make sense to, it starts with like you have certain beliefs about the world around you. Okay, beliefs cause you to feel certain emotions based on whatever happens around you, and that causes you to act. Okay, but it's all based on your beliefs. So if you have the belief that the law of consciousness is real and that you can harness it, then you will have certain emotions. Well, if you really internalize it, then your emotions will be different than if you were to believe that you believe in an external God, or that you have to use certain techniques to manifest or something like that, and then your actions will change. Okay, moving on to feeling. Okay, so he's still talking about feeling here. The feeling only of the state you desire to realize, of course, makes sense. And whatever the mind of man can conceive and feel the truth, the subconscious can and must objectify. So he, in this particular verse, in this text and in others, he really stresses that it's the subconscious that is the means of realizing what happens in the world, and it's impressed on feelings and ideas from the subconscious, or from the conscious mind. Okay, and then this is the main, I guess one of the main ideas. To impress the subconscious with a desirable state, you must assume the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish. And you do that through believing. You're believing completely that what you want is already done. Okay, let's see, and there makes another claim about, and this is still chapter 1, that Paul personified the subconscious as a woman. And then he built off of that idea that I think he uses the Hermetic principle of gender in the in developing this idea that everything has gender. So the subconscious is the woman, and it's impressed by the male conscious mind. Let's see, so it resembles a wife. So yeah, and he does build off of that idea of the subconscious being a woman or female. Okay, and you can go over again. This is chapter 1. I'm not going to go over chapter 1 completely because I already did that. Okay, and okay, he does have a lot of claims. I already addressed that because he's not. This is not like a didactic, like I don't know if I'm using the word didactic right, but this is not a complete exposition of all his theories and beliefs and why he believes. He just presents certain things and then exhorts the reader to. I use that word a lot. He encourages the reader to just apply the law for him or herself, theirself. Okay, yeah, and he probably explains them in other books or in lectures, um, but I don't have the bandwidth to cross-reference all of his works and books and stuff to defend every single unsupported claim that he makes. I mean, it's not important. The claims that he makes, are independent of the law of assumption. Anyway, okay, and so what I mean by that is that you don't need to understand all of the claims and why he says the things he says to practice the law of assumption and to live by it. It's not important. Okay, going back to his main ideas, you express and have only that which you are conscious of being or possessing. So again, you have to be mindful of that. Okay, I think chapter 1 is my favorite one. It has the most important pieces in my opinion, and yeah, it's straightforward and stuff like that. Okay, chapter 2. So he really stresses the importance of sleep, and he says that it determines the waking part of our lives, and yeah, he really stresses the importance of sleep. Just kind of taking a turn from how important feeling is, but you can read chapter 2 and get your own opinions from that. Okay, yeah, so Job 33, he says that God may speak to man through dreams, and I think he references some other Bible verses, I'm not sure. I don't know, this is just a basic overview. What I like, I like this sentence that he says, it helps to, well, it helped me at first to position my mind into imagining how would I feel and to make it more real. What I like instead is just kind of like a little trick. How does it feel? Whoops, I would do that. It feel. That now that my wish is realized, okay? Because you're assuming to your mind that it is already real, and so how would you feel? How does it feel now that it is true? Whatever you want. Okay, never go to sleep feeling discouraged or dissatisfied. You should always be mindful, especially I think it's important. We don't know how important the theta brainwave is, or the state is, or what effect it has on your waking life. Neville says it's important. I completely believe that you should go to sleep. You should be mindful first if you are in an undesirable state or mood, and change that as best you can. Oh yeah, this is bad. I don't know if you've ever gone to sleep upset or worried or something, and it stays with you, and then it might even stick with you the whole day if you're not mindful and if you don't change it, if you don't consciously take stock of how you feel. Anyway, he talks about everyone is you, because we're all consciousness, and we're all consciousness is one, and we are part of consciousness, and just like tiny aspects of it. So it makes sense to me that you should not act on the outside, which is this. Never suggest to another the state that which you desire him express. Okay, this is acting on the outside. it's bad, in my opinion. And instead, you should just convince yourself that he is already that which you desire him to be. So this is changing on the inside, which is the only way you can change the world, and that's good. So this means that in suggesting to another in any form, and that means giving advice. I mean, you can, if you feel led to give advice, and if you feel led to share something that you know that you think will help on the outside, don't depend on the outside, okay? Don't depend on advice or maybe criticism. Maybe you want to teach them or show them or something like that. I'll show them, don't depend on these exterior ways to do that. Just it's more effective if you change your conception of the world and act and live on that, in my opinion. So this will, if you internalize and use this will make your life so much easier. But again, you have to be mindful, and you may have had thought patterns that are years long, and it's okay. But in my opinion, this is something to be strived for. Is just relying on your assumption to change everything around you. Anyway, all right, chapter 3. So the main idea: believe you have received it. That's Mark 11:24, and he literally said that the only condition required is that you believe your prayers are already realized. Okay, he says that in talking about Mark 11:24. Okay. He restates, or not restates, but he talks about the verse. The only condition required is that you believe that your prayers are already realized. The only condition. Okay, he says it right. Only condition. Okay, and then feeling comes naturally after that. All right, you shut out your sense. Okay, so and to pray, you don't need to lay down and say you're going to be sleepy and do all that kind of stuff. But you just need to adopt a passive state to pray or believe. That's what he says. There are a lot of, I'm just going to take a quick aside here. There are a lot of stories that I've read that incorporate feeling, and the manifestations that were desired happened very quickly. Somebody felt money on their skin and something, and they got a raise the next day. Neville, in imagining his trip from Barbados, where he was, where he was stuck on Barbados for, he was going to be stuck for a few months, and then he imagined a very, very detailed scene, and I believe that he put himself in this state, and that may have an effect on the subconscious that modern science can't measure. I don't know yet. I want to do that because, of course, I want to have all my manifestations happen like that. I think everybody does. But there's also there's also the fact of I'm gonna call it infinite intelligence because I'm reading Think and Grow Rich, and the author talks about infinite intelligence. And even though you may want to have a manifestation happen instantaneously, that may not be the best thing for you because you don't know. You can't compute on every little factor that happens in the world around you. Neville wanted his rent to be reduced or something. In a lecture that I forgot the name of, but I made a Reddit post about it, and you can check that. But he basically imagined rent being low, and it wasn't. For 3 whole months, he paid this rent, and then after 3 months, the landlord caught it and was like, "I'm so sorry. You're supposed to be paying this amount," and then he back paid him. So he got all that money back, and he was able to, get a bookshelf and a whole bunch of other stuff that he would not have been able to get if he would have had his rent when he wanted it. So there is the unknown factor of someone or something influencing things around you for your own good. Um, and so I think that no. So I think that we should keep that in mind, that we don't know what's best for us at any given time, because the world is a big place, people are their own agents. Um, Even though you want a manifestation to happen at a certain time, it may not be the best time for you, and you may not know why or how. But the fact remains is that sometimes they don't happen. The manifestations, no matter how badly we want them to happen, they sometimes don't. And that may be for your own good. You don't know. Or you may just need to be patient. If you really want it, it'll happen somehow. But things need to line up. It may be a few months for your desire to happen, and as a result of that, you get all these cool things. I don't know. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about that. Okay, chapter 4. The main idea that's presented is that you should believe yourself to be God. Don't put responsibility on somebody else. Take responsibility for yourself, because you are the upper power. You have the ability to use the law of assumption, and don't depend on an external thing, on idols. Okay, so about theories. I mean, I was gonna defend myself on why I was throwing Neville under the bus for all these unsupported theories and claims, but in studying this book, I realized that in the beginning, as I referenced earlier, it's here. Let's see. Oh, where did what is it called? It's right here. This book would be many times its size, so it's not important to have reasoned arguments and defend everything that you say. Well, it's not important for Neville to do that in this book. It's important to present the law of consciousness and have people use it. And yeah. But let's see. Yeah, this is one book. Okay, tiny slice, sure. The stuff that I'm gonna do later, I might be taking a step away from Neville, and I might learn ancient Greek and Aramaic and Hebrew, or the biblical languages, and interpreting the Bible through that lens. And it's going to take a while, so if my next video isn't that long, I just was frustrated in reading Neville's interpretations of Bible verses, and it's just not making sense to me. So I want to kind of get it from the source, but it turns out that may be a little harder than one can imagine, because the Bible is a very old book, and it's been changed, and stuff has been taken away from it, and to get to the bottom of what really, I mean, I don't know that such focus needs to be placed on the Bible, because of how much it has changed, and I know that some people out there will say, well, Neville, that's his favorite book, and he memorized the whole thing, and he would spend hours in it, and I'm not saying that. This is the point where I am on in my journey as a person, and I guess where this YouTube channel is that what is the most effective way? What is the best thing to learn in order to find truth? What is the fastest way to find truth? And I don't know what it is. It may be that I need to read more Neville, maybe another thought leader, I don't know. But I may want to go ahead and learn those 3 ancient languages, or maybe just enough to interpret the Bible in the languages that they were originally written in. I don't know. But I'm going to get to the bottom of it, and it might take some time. So just be patient. Everybody who's subscribed, don't be discouraged if you know, a couple months have gone by and I haven't released a video. I'm gonna be teaching everything that I'll be learning, because that's how you retain information better. So I think that's all I got here. No? Okay. Main takeaway, yeah, is that if you assume something is true and persist in it fully, the operative word being fully, in my opinion, then it will manifest itself. Because if you persist in something fully, then you'll get feeling, and you'll start to live in the state desired. But you have to persist. Okay, you have to persist in it fully. Live in the state. Okay, that's the main takeaway right here. You assume something is true and persist in it fully. From my interpretation of, well, from my personal experiences, from what I've read about Neville, and from what I've studied in this book, The Feeling is the Secret, that is what you should be focusing on day to day. Okay, that is it. There's a Discord link in the description if you want to hang out with other Neville people and create a kind of community, or participate in the community. I guess I'm creating it, kind of. You can help create it too. You can help me manifest it. I think that's it. Yeah, alright guys. Stay safe and keep following truth. Alright, take it easy.